You guys really seem to enjoy one of the recent tutorials I did on some cool built-in effects that you already own in Final Cut, so here is quite a bit more. The first built-in effect is Gaussian Blur, and I think most of you already know that this can be used to maybe blur your shots, so you can add text or pictures over them. Just swing this to 0, hit the keyframe button, go over a few frames, increase the blur, and now you have a nice little background to better see your pop-ups or text. Just make sure to make the same adjustments for when you want the blur to fade out. Pro tip, press Ctrl V or right-click the clip and hit Show Video Animation. Go to Gaussian Blur. Head to the spot in your clip you'd like the blur to start fading out, and hit Option K to set a keyframe. Remember, K as in keyframe. Then go over a few frames or so and hit Option K again, and drag this bit down. You can even drag these bits out for a more gradual fade in and out. Making the video animation visible just makes it so easy to see what's happening with the effect on your clip. Here's a Gaussian blur tip that you can use to somewhat smooth skin to make people look better. Some of you are gonna love this one. What we're gonna do is hit this mask button here and create a color mask. I'll drag out a selection of her skin by clicking and dragging. Then we'll hit View Mask so we can see what we're doing here. The white is everything that is going to be blurred. So what you want to do is play around with these HSL parameters so that her skin is selected, but her eyebrows, eyes, maybe lips are not. Usually you can just fiddle with the Luma parameter here only. You don't want to go overboard, so make sure there's still a lot of black around their eyes, lips, etc. Then click View Mask again and really bring this down to only a couple of points. Subtlety is key here. Now as I scrub through, you'll see her eyes and lips are pretty sharp, but her complexion has been smoothed over a bit, making her pores and blemishes not so in your face. No pun intended. Alternatively, you can do the same thing with the sharpen effect, except this time, select the eyes. Remember, the eyes should be white this time because white is what gets affected by whatever you're applying. So here's what we did. If, however, you want something more professional looking, there's a plugin called Beauty Box, which is so easy to use and looks infinitely better, but it is a really expensive plugin, so don't impulse buy, make sure you would really use it. The next effect you have that could be useful is called Prism. This adds a color fringing effect along the edges of things in your shot. What I would do if I were you is click the mask button, hit Add Shape Mask, click this little arrow, and then hit Invert. Now, everything on the outside of the circles will be affected with the prism effect. And if you don't know, this outside circle is the feathering, so how gradual the effect is. So basically, the more separation between the inner and outer circle, the more gradual and smooth the effect. Everything inside the inner circle will never be touched by the effect. So let's make an oval over our subject here, and I will feather this quite a lot so the effect is more gradual. Then you can increase or decrease the amount to taste. Here's another cool trick adding on top of this. Add the Gaussian blur effect, add a shape mask, invert it by going to the drop-down menu again and selecting invert. Make this an oval over your subject and increase the feathering. Then what I would do is lower the vertical amount because to me, it looks more natural to what a shallow depth of field would look like in camera. And here's what really sells it. Hit the keyframe button so any movement to the mask saves. Head to the end of the clip, and move the mask so it's over her again. And now head to the beginning and place the mask around her. Now if we scrub through, you'll see we created a fake shallow depth of field effect, which we can then adjust to taste. And we could even crank up this prism effect even more, since the shot really is great for it. Also, little side note that I just found out, if you drag out this arrow when the prism effect is selected, you can get real trippy with how it looks. Flipped is an effect that you can use to basically flip your shot with the click of a button. I use this one quite often. Bad TV gives you a couple of options for this security cam VHS type look. So if you want to create a VHS looking shot, but you do not want to waste money on a plugin, you can add this effect. Maybe I'll switch this to white noise, and then add the crop and feather effect that we went over in part 1, and swing the height all the way to the right and adjust the width how you want it. Dazzle is an effect that brightens and adds stars to the brightest parts of your image. This shot is just very flat, so what you'll need to do if that happens is adjust the threshold, which is basically how much brightness the effect needs for it to start taking action. I'll increase the amount I'll lower the brightness a bit, and you're probably saying to yourself, yeah, but Dylan, it's picking up a lot of what we don't want in the shot. It looks like trash. That is true, so I'd recommend doing what we learned with the previous effects. Add a shape mask and isolate the mask over that thing you'd like to have the effect. This clip doesn't need you to keyframe the mask, but this one does. You can see that the effect is affecting part of the band. So I'll add a shape mask and put it over the diamond. Hit the keyframe button on the mask. Go to the end of the clip and move the mask into place. Then make sure the beginning is taken care of as well. Like we've seen, Final Cut guesses the path of the mask from keyframe 1 to 2, and now we have a nice looking shiny effect on our diamond here. The next one is Censored, and I'm going to pair this with Final Cut's built-in tracking feature. So drag this effect directly on your viewport over what you want to censor. I'll adjust the tracking size here, then hit Analyze. After that's tracked, select the effect, move this on-screen control over your subject, and adjust how much of the effect you like. There are also a couple of different other censor options, but the last two are terrible in my opinion. The next effect is film grain, and when you apply this, immediately switch off the god-awful iMovie grain and just use realistic grain. Then you can adjust the amount to taste. If you want some free film grain overlays that look better though, I'll put a link to some of mine in the description. Next, we have an effect that I'm using constantly in my tutorials, and that is drop shadow. So for example, with my logo that's animating in here, we'll add the drop shadow effect. This on-screen control is the shadow, so you can move its position how you'd like, and you can even angle the shadow if you'd like. If you just want something quick and simple, just move it off to the side a bit and add some blur. It's a quick way to separate that logo, text, or pop-up from the background. The handheld effect is an effect that adds some handheld shake to your shot. So if you locked your shot off on a tripod, but you want to make it look like someone is holding the camera, just throw that effect on and adjust to taste. I find that subtlety is key here. I mean, come on, what the hell is this? There's also a letterbox effect, which bakes in some black bars to your shot for a more cinematic look. But I would recommend not just applying the effect to every clip. Instead, add an adjustment layer over the top of your clip and add the letterbox to that. I'll leave a link for an adjustment layer from my buddy Dylan Bates in the description. Then we have the draw mask effect. This is essentially scissors for your video clips. So for example, I use this effect to cut out these tape overlays for my tutorials, but it's commonly used to create really cool transitions called masking transitions. I've created quite a few in my films, like here, and here, and here. I'm not going to go too in-depth on the process, but what you need to know is that once you add the effect, you go ahead and make points around the object you'd like to cut out. So I know I want the last part of this shot, but I like this part before he goes behind the tree to be this shot. You'll see what I mean. So I'll make points going up the tree and I'll extend this out. I'll also add some feathering to the mask. Then I set keyframes on all my transform and control points so the movement I make to the mask saves. And what I like to do is switch the view to original so I can see what I'm doing here. I'll go about a couple frames or so over and line up the mask with the moving object. You'll need to make sure you go backwards and help the mask line up if it's off, as well as going until that thing is completely out of frame. Then drag the clip over the first clip and switch this to composite. And that is the basic premise of a masking transition. I have quite a few tutorials showing this on my channel, so give them a look if you'd like to see more. Lastly, if you want to learn about 3 audio effects that can make your voice audio sound infinitely better, then take a look at this video that I put together. It is fairly short, and it should help you to greatly improve your video's dialogue. Have a great rest of your day, guys.